Need some coins or MT for that God Squad you've always wanted? For fast and cheap currency, make sure to check out MMOEXP.com and use code ZERK for 5% off your order.
The whole thing wobbin', wobbin'. When I come around, got the whole thing wobbin'.
What's going on, guys? It's Zirksee coming at you today with another Madden Ultimate Team video. And today I'm going to be going over my Madden 23 Ultimate Team Core Elite Wide Receiver predictions. Now, I will say this, the previous predictions that I have done, I think this is probably going to be the third one that I post. The first two should be QBs and then running backs. I did go over a lot of players. With wide receivers, you guys are looking at how many wide receivers we actually had to start off the year of Madden 22. There were so many Core Elite wide receivers. There were actually 28 Core Elite wide receivers. So I actually decided for wide receivers, because there were just so many of them, then I'm only going to do top 10. So I'm going to be doing my top 10 wide receivers anyways to start off Madden 23, who I think is going to be the top 10 highest overalls for months. Now, I do want to give a shout out to Cheese Boys for being a part of the Noti Gang. If you guys want a chance to be shout out in the next video, drop a like in the vid, make sure you guys are subbed to the channel, turn the notification bell on, and comment down below Noti Gang. And also, guys, if you want to check out Underdog Fantasy, you can use code ZERK to match first deposit up to $100 and follow me over on Twitter for my picks. And as well, I will leave a link at the top of the comment section for a giveaway I'm currently running for 5 all Madden editions of Madden 23. Yes, 5 copies I'm giving away. Check that tweet out and go retweet it. Follow myself and Underdog over there and comment on that tweet Zirk Luck to be entered. I will be choosing the winners August 15th. So as I said, guys, I'm going to be doing the top 10 wide receivers pretty much in this prediction video. So there will be a lot of wide receivers that get left out. Obviously so, because the lowest overall receiver I'm actually going to start this video off with, I think is going to be an 83. So if there's any like wide receivers you think can be 82s, 81s, 80s, whatever, leave them down below. But it's a lot of receivers. All right, so starting off this list with a wide receiver that I think is going to be an 83 overall, and this is the only 83 overall I'm going to be going over because the other 9 are either 84 or above. I will say this though, I have to mention these two guys because I think they're probably both going to be 83 overalls as well, and that would be Mike Evans and DK Metcalf. I think they are both going to be 83 overalls, and I know that if I didn't mention them in this video, then people would be very mad. Diontae Johnson had 107 receptions, which ties him for 5th in the NFL. He had 1,161 yards and 8 TDs. I think he's very deserving of an 83 overall card. Hopefully it's pretty good, because honestly, with the way the EA's been doing Diontae Johnson cards, they just have not been that good. Like this 94 overall, Gridiron Guardian when it came out, only having 91 catch in traffic, 94 speed at the time. It wasn't really crazy. So I'm hoping Deontay's good, because I actually really like Diontae Johnson, like watching him play. It's just his cards in mud have just not been very great. So moving on to number 9, we have Keenan Allen. Now, Keenan Allen started this year off as an 84 overall, and honestly, I think he's probably going to stay as an 84 overall. He had 1,138 yards, 6 touchdowns, 106 receptions, and he did play in 16 games, whereas the year before he only played in 14 and had 992 yards with 8 TDs. So he actually had 2 less touchdowns this year, but about 138 more receiving yards. So I don't really feel like his stats change that much. I think he's just going to stay at 84. You might be surprised to know that Keenan Allen is actually my only 84 overall wide receiver, and Diontae being 83, that means every other player on here is 85 plus. So I do think we're going to have a lot of high overall wide receivers. There was obviously a lot of talent on display this year, and one of those wide receivers I think is going to be JaMarr Chase. Now, if Chase wasn't a rookie, he might even be higher than 85, but coming off of a rookie year, EA, with the way they do things in Madden Ultimate Team, they don't necessarily tend to put rookies super high overall. I think OBJ after his rookie year was like an 87 overall, I want to say. But JaMarr Chase right here started off the year with a 77. I think he's going to come into Madden 23 to very good overall at an 85. I think he's going to be an 85 overall. The card should be incredible. He obviously had a crazy season, right? 1,455 yards, 13 TDs, and 81 receptions. So he was 4th in receiving yards, 3rd in touchdowns, but didn't have the most catches necessarily. He was tied for 20th in terms of receptions. So JaMarr Chase, I think very obviously so, submitted himself as one of the top wide receivers in the NFL. And to be honest, I would even go as far as saying that you could place JaMarr Chase in like your top 5 right now. So Chase, 85. I think that's really good. Now, Stefon Diggs came into this year at 86 overall, and he did have a slight down season in terms of yardage and also receptions. He actually had 2 additional receiving touchdowns in the previous season, but he did have 300 less yards, and he had 24 less catches. So I would say that's a decent little drop right there, especially with yardage going from 1,535 to 1,225 there. So with that, I do think that Stefon Diggs is going to come down from an 86 to 85. Obviously still going to be a pretty decent card at the beginning of the year. He's just never really fast. Unfortunately so, DeAndre Hopkins kind of had some injury issues this year and only ended up playing in 10 games. Obviously, this upcoming season, he is suspended for the first 6 games, if I recall correctly there. So that is definitely going to affect his numbers for this upcoming season. But he was an 87 overall to start off Madden 22, and I do think that's going to drop a lot. In 10 games, he only put up 572 yards and 8 touchdowns. He actually had more touchdowns this year than he did the previous year, where he played in 16 games but had 1,400 yards and 6 TDs. So the yardage there, 10 to 16 games, he only played in 6 more games but had almost triple the yardage the previous year. So I do think that D-Hop's going to come down a little bit. He's still obviously one of the best wide receivers in the league, but I think he's going to drop all the way from an 87, a decent drop of 2 to an 85. Now we will see how Tyreek Hill actually performs this season with Tua now at QB, but I do think that Tyreek Hill is probably going to come down in overall just ever so slightly. I think Tyreek Hill started this year at 87. I think he's going to come down to an 86. Now, I guess this one really comes down to how much is he a factor in catches versus TDs, because Tyreek Hill actually had a lot of catches this year. He had the most catches in his entire career. He had 111 receptions, which is more than he had the previous year, just 87. And then receiving yards, he had 1,239, whereas the year before that, he had 1,276. But the biggest change, for me anyways, when I'm looking at the stats and do I think he's going to stay at 87, come down, I have some other receivers that I think will replace him at 87 overall. He only had 9 touchdowns, whereas the year before, well, he had 15 TDs. So 6 touchdowns less. He did have 24 more catches, but I think they valued TDs a lot more than just regular catches there. And Tyreek Hill, even with that many receptions, was still only 3rd in the NFL when it comes to receptions there. So I do think he's going to come down from an 87 to 86. Now, Deebo Samuel, I believe, has the biggest jump of any wide receiver that I'm going to talk about today. And I think he's going to go all the way from a 78 and be right there with Tyreek at an 86 overall. Now, I know that his stats, when you look at them, 77 receptions, 1,405 receiving yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's really, really good, right? But then you also have to add in rushing with Deebo Samuel. He had 365 rushing yards and 8 additional TDs on the ground. So I am factoring that in. Of course, you have to factor in with Deebo Samuel's overall here, and also that he wasn't a rookie. And again, I know people are going to bring up JaMarr Chase when I talk about Deebo being above him, but because he wasn't a rookie and because of the rushing TDs, all that, I do think that Deebo will be an 86 overall, Chase still at 85. But I think they're both going to be really, really good cards. I personally love Deebo Samuel cards because of what he can do after the catch. So I'll probably look to pick him up right off the bat beginning of the year. Now, this is where I will say things get a little bit interesting with wide receivers in particular, because I don't really like to have a lot of positions that are such high overall and have multiple people at that overall. It's very rare for EA to give multiple players like 87 overalls even, and I don't think they've ever given 2 players 88s at the same exact position. But I do think we're going to see 2 87s this year at wide receiver, and one of those is going to be Justin Jefferson. 108 receptions, 1,616 yards, was 2nd in the NFL, and 10 TDs. I do think JJ will be an 87. And at an 87 overall, right there with Justin Jefferson, I think is going to be Devonta Adams. Now, honestly, could they still have him at an 88? Yes. But if that's the case, there's going to be multiple 88 overall wide receivers, and I just don't see that happening. I think they're only going to give the 88 overall to the absolute best wide receiver in the league from this previous year. So Devontae, unfortunately so, he's going to come down from his 88 to an 87. Although he still had almost 200 additional yards, he had 8 more catches. He did have 7 less touchdowns though than the previous season, and that's playing 2 more games, which is really, really interesting. So Devontae, I do think is going to come down in overall. And that is, of course, because of Cooper Kupp being an 88. He was the Triple Crown this year. He led the league in receptions with 145, yards with 1,947, and touchdowns with 16. I mean, how could you not have Cooper Kupp as your top wide receiver at an 88? Which, now thinking about it, what I just said with Deebo, I think Deebo I had going from a 78 to 86, which was plus 80 overall. I have Cooper Kupp going up plus 80 overall as well, from an 80 to an 88. So those are my top 10 wide receivers that I think will start off the year in Madden 23. Let me know down below what you guys think about that. As I said, additional 83s, Mike Evans and DK, I think they will be 83 overalls. Maybe I'm, missing 1 or 2. That could also be 83s, but there were 28 base elite wide receivers to start off this year. So there are a lot of wide receivers that will be base elites. So with that being said, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, make sure you guys drop a like in the video. And of course, hit that sub button down below. See you guys next time.